We're here at Media Day in Norman. I'm Ryan Aber here with Brooke Pryor from NewsOK.com. And Brooke, the biggest thing we learned today was an injury to an Oklahoma wide receiver who we expected big things from this season.
Right, that was redshirt junior Nick Basquine. Kind of had an idea that something wasn't right when we saw him this morning at Meet the Sooners. He's signing autographs. He has a boot on his left leg. Yes, we know that doesn't impact his ability to sign autographs, but it's not a good sign that you see this wide receiver who, among other things, he's a leader and he's one of the veterans coming in on a group that has a lot of question marks. You know, obviously a lot of talent there, but didn't really know who would be the go-to guy. And Nick is someone who had chemistry with Baker Mayfield and who showed that he could be a major force in the receiving group in the upcoming year. Instead, this, like you said, the Achilles injury is going to keep him out for the year, and then Lincoln talked about getting him back next year.
And let's talk about who will fill that role at his position. A name that I think everybody expected was Michael Jones. Lincoln Riley mentioned that. But one that we didn't really expect to hear was Lee Morris, another walk-on. Last year, Nick Basquine was a walk-on, earned a scholarship, had a role with this offense. But Lincoln brought up Lee Morris as a guy who has a chance to play a little bit.
Exactly. Lee Morris from Allen, Texas. He has a chance. I think also he mentioned A.D. Miller. There's a bunch of different guys there to fill in. Speaking of wide receivers, another guy we met today for the first time was Jeff Badette. We've heard about him a lot since he announced on March 28th that he was transferring to OU from Kentucky. He almost had a chance to play for all the Stoops brothers, or at least 3 of the 4 Stoops brothers. Instead, obviously Bob Stoops retires shortly after Jeff transfers here. But got a chance to talk with him. He's excited to bring in this veteran leadership, his knowledge of defenses, into a receiving group that kind of needs some speed and some leadership.
And he's also a guy who can stretch the field a little bit, connect with the deep ball. We saw D.D. Westbrook be such a big part of that portion of the offense last year with the deep balls that he caught over and over. Obviously, the Biletnikoff Award winner a year ago. That's a big hole in this offense, and they need a guy like Jeff Badette to be a deep threat.
Absolutely. He talked about he has an ability to be a deep threat, and he's also got speed and athleticism, and a lot of that comes from he was a long jumper and triple jumper in high school, and so with that he got a unique skill set that really helps him accelerate, helps him be able to go up and get the ball, and those are things that OU really likes and that really work well with Baker Mayfield's skill set.
And we've been stuck on the offense to this point, but let's talk about the defense a little bit. The secondary is such a big question with this team. They struggled at the beginning of last year, and especially the safety spot opposite Stephen Parker has been such a talked about position battle here in the preseason. What have we learned about that to this point?
Well, to this point, we obviously know, first of all, Will Sunderland is not going to be in the mix there. He's suspended indefinitely. I doubt we see him this year. But of the guys that are here, Will Johnson is someone who had a big season in 2015, wasn't as impactful in 2016 just with some injuries. He's being talked about as a starter in this role, along with Chance Sylvie, both of them contenders, and true freshman Robert Barnes, who's coming back from a broken leg he suffered in high school football. So they've got some options, and that depth there is really good for OU.
Well, let's hear what Lincoln Riley, Mike Stoops, and the OU players had to say at OU Media Day.
One announcement we do want to make, Nick Basquine a couple days ago suffered a Achilles injury, non-contact injury in practice. He'll miss the season. Terrible injury for Nick, and definitely, one that'll affect us as a team. There's no question about it. He was a great leader for us in that inside receiver room. Guy that was a really clutch player for us last year that we felt like was ready to go on to a bigger role. And one of those injuries, that you just don't see, very often. So that was a tough one for us.
It's a very, very talented QB room. I'd say it's the best in the country. Between Kyler, Austin Kendall, Tanner, and even Reese and Connor McGinnis have continued to get better and better. It's just, those guys, they're all good at different things. I still would say Kyler Murray is the fastest player on our team. But he adds such a different element to our offense when he's in there. And then Austin Kendall's just such a natural thrower. And so it's exciting to see those guys battle it out. Kyler did the same thing that I did. He played one year, sat out another, worked on his stuff for a scout team, doing all that, and then he's back and he's ready to go. So I'm excited for him finally getting able to get some real live experience. And then Austin Kendall's having to realize that he's right in the middle of a competition. That number 2 spot's not his. It's not locked up at all. So it's exciting to see those guys battle it out.
It's going to be a great competition. Just after this first week, I can tell you that. those guys are really playing well. Again, I said it's a new situation. We said the other day, last year it was pretty much set that Baker was going to be the guy, and then with all the transfers that Austin Kendall was going to be the next one. It was, there wasn't much doubt. Where this year it's just a totally new situation. With Austin, with Kyler, with Tanner Schaefer, three guys that have had a bunch of reps around here that know what they're doing. It's been fun to see them compete at a high level, and you can feel kind of the difference in their play and their sense of urgency right now versus last year at this time, which has been a positive. So we're looking for the guy that can be the most consistent, that can move the group, that can, when he walks in there, if you hadn't seen us play offensively, you would think he's the starter and he's the guy running the show. And then obviously they've got to execute and do their job too. But that sense of being able to take over and lead the group when it's their time, regardless of the situation, I think is a critical factor.
I so bad want us to be in the run for the national championship, but at the same time, I also, want to be in the running for every award that has to do with any kind of defensive player of the year or, defensive back, best defensive back of the, anything that has to do with me just flat out, head and shoulders being better than everybody else in my position is what I want to do. And it was really funny. It's really stupid, but we were joking around, and I was just like, I want to win the Blitnikoff as a DB. And I'm just like, everyone was saying, like, what are you saying? And I'm just like, think about it, And I'm just like, something I kind of, joked about, but it's one of those things where, I just want to, regardless of where the ball's at in the air, if it's in the air, I either want to come down with it or nobody.
The mentality of this group, you can tell, hopefully it bothered all of us, what happened. We're not here to dwell on it. We know we can play better. So I think that part affected them, affected all of us. So, they care about, how they play, and if we want to win like we want to win, they know we have to play better defense. So I think that, just going back and, reevaluating the whole situation, I think that was critical to our ability to move forward and take ownership of what we did or didn't do, and now we're ready to move forward. And, we let that go, and I think the players understand what their part of it is, coaches understand what their part of it is, and you move forward, and that's what they've done. And we ain't worried about what happened. We know what we did and didn't do a year ago, so we're concentrating on how we can improve, how we can play better, and taking it day in and day out, and been a lot better competition, guys working for playing time, so we're starting to build depth across the board. And that helps us, and it helps other people stay involved. So